Ready? Okay. Yeah, super proud and enthusiastic about the way we played. I thought we brought it. Our willingness to do the tough things was, I'm going to use this word, demonstrably different than it was the other night. So, as tough as that loss was, you always think, every coach sits up here and says we need to learn from it, and players say that, and it's gratifying when you actually do learn from it and play with the kind of intensity that we did today. We talked about just being a little less worried about scout and just more just, hey, go play, fly around, pay attention to scout, but also just your activity level has to be higher than it was the other night, and it was, like I said, dramatically higher. And then what I like, I look at the box score, and we had 24 twos, which is not Creighton-like, but we knew that they guard well on the perimeter. I mean, they actually trapped off Lauren a few times because Morgan got go. We said let's go inside to Morgan. Obviously, in the first few minutes, I thought she established that if they weren't going to double her, she was going to score on them. And then, once they decided they were going to double, we got some good things going. And I just thought we made tough plays to the rim. I mean, Lauren, for as good a shooter as she is, she had 8 twos today. I mean, that's really, really good. She missed open threes, which is a surprise, but she can get tough twos, and she can get tough twos, and those are huge. So that's going to help us. I mean, just real. I know Marquette was down one of their really good players, but I just thought we brought it today, and the signature play that toward the end when Kennedy and Jamie are both running 40 feet and both of them dive, to me that just kind of signified how much and how badly we wanted to win today.
Open the floor to questions from the student athletes.
For both players, I guess it was noticeable in warm-ups that there was just a lot more energy and communication. I know it's just warm-ups and it doesn't always translate, but did you feel like the mindset was different today compared to Providence?
Yeah, I definitely think that was an emphasis. We knew that we were going to have to come out and do the little things, and that starts with having energy, and that starts when we step on the floor in warm-ups. And so I definitely think it carried over and translated to the game, and we were able to do it for 4 quarters too.
Morgan, I know you scored the first 7 points of the game, and 2 down the block, and then made the 3. I guess how much do you feel like that sequence or those first 3 minutes really set the tone for the whole game?
Yeah, I think we had that plan going into it right away that they were going to play 4 guards, so we should be able to get some good looks in the post and get some twos there. But, once they made some adjustments, I think we did a really good job of catering to those adjustments, and we tried to, move the ball off those closeouts. And, yeah, it was good right from the beginning.
They came out of that early timeout from the doubles at you, but just never seemed like you got sped up if they wanted you to. How much has that been part of your growth to just kind of stay under control and kind of see the defense for what it is instead of trying to rush a play?
Yeah, I felt more comfortable today than I definitely would have a year ago in that situation. But my teammates found open spots. I mean, I hit Lauren for so many threes back to back to back. But we were all just playing as one, and, when people are in the right spots, it's easy to get looks.
Could you guys imagine looking up at the scoreboard midway through the third quarter and seeing that they had 16 points?
Yeah, we knew that we were going to come out and fight. And Marquette's a tough team. They play defense and they play hard. They're also a good offensive team too. And so we knew what we were going to do. And I think it was just really accomplishing to look at that and see, that we held them to, 14 or 16 in the first half or something like that.
Kind of like what Flan was just alluding too. We know you guys can shoot the three very well, but how much pride do you take in just being able to make really good, whether it's a mid-range two or driving to the basket, just when the three ball isn't there?
Yeah, I think just our offense was flowing and we were all involved, and that's something that we've emphasized this week in practice, just getting high catches early and cuts early, but also, our guards are good enough that we can go make plays off the dribble and then post too when they have some big fives on the floor. We have a lot of options there.
I know the game was a wrap, but it felt like Kennedy's play was kind of a microcosm of the day. What did you guys think of that moment there?
Yeah, that play was awesome. I think the whole bench was like going crazy, and Kennedy just brings that effort in practice and whenever she gets in, and so I don't expect anything less of her for making that play. But yeah, it, like Flan said, it kind of encapsulated the game really well.
For both of you, what does this do for the confidence of the team going forward?
It's a start. I think, we see flashes here and there of how good we can be. And, looking at our next opponent, you would assume that the energy is going to be the same. But day by day.
I know they beat Providence today, your next opponent. I guess, what's it mean to kind of play them, after such a good performance today going into Wednesday?
Yeah, obviously Seton Hall games with them are always a battle. And kind of like Morgan said, and Flan has been saying this past few days, it's we got to be bigger than one result, and we got to build on it. And they just beat Providence, and we obviously did not play our best game against Providence. And so just kind of carrying what we did today over in that Seton Hall game will be huge.
Lauren, just kind of from your experience last year, what is it about playing Seton Hall where it is always kind of a tougher game?
Yeah, they're scrappy, they get after it, and it's kind of become a rivalry. And, there's some tension there between both teams, and so having those types of games, there's always a little bit more tension and a little bit more like grit there. So it'll be a fun game.
Any further questions for the student athletes?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good job. Good job.
Floor to questions for Coach Flannery.
Or did they ask Lauren, not Morgan?
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I told Morgan.
From a rebounding standpoint, it feels like one of the things, like, you talk about, the size disparity going into a game and how do you combat that. It feels like gang rebounding is the way to do it. What did you think of that effort today? It just felt like you guys were just had multiple people around the ball every time it went out.
Yeah, I thought the first half especially. I mean, we had a lapse or two there in the end of the third quarter. I felt like, and but they had a couple shots that just rocketed off the. But I thought the first half we did a good job of making them be one and done. We talked about that. Marquette's a physical, they pride themselves on being workmanlike and physical and a good rebounding team. And I said, they were plus 11 on the glass in their wins and minus 6 in their losses. And obviously, some of that has to do with the quality of their opponent and their losses. But if you can out rebound them, you got a good chance. And that's kind of what I told him is I said, we can walk through this and this and this, but they're a team that can score on broken play. Like they need some transition and some broken plays to score because they're more of a defensive minded group, so they can struggle to score. So you can't let them score in the hidden ways, transition and O boards and free throws. And they let both teams play, so they didn't. They're a really good free throw shooting team. Neither team got to the line, so that I thought was helpful too. But yeah, I thought our rebounding was good and a big part of it.
Morgan had 7 points, then an assist, then a screen assist on your first 5 buckets. What did you think of her involvement in ways that maybe don't always show up? Just felt like she had Marquette's defense,
Yeah.
those sorts.
Well, if you look at that game and, she's sitting up here, and she only had 10 points and 7 rebounds, but if you watch the way the game went, against a team that's hard to score against, for her to get us off to that start and kind of force them to have to do some different things defensively, which then got other people going, it was if we don't have that, they're harder to score against. But I thought what she did and then their reaction to that got other people closeouts and open shots, and then we kind of got into a flow. So I think her impact on the game was much greater than 10 points and 7 rebounds because, if you can play from ahead against Marquette with the pace they play, especially if you can play from, double figures ahead, you're in good shape because they're like the Villanova on the women's side. Their pace of play is not super high. So yeah, I thought she was really good early, and we said whoever their smaller post or whoever Murata wasn't going to guard, we were going to throw it into early, be it Emma or Morgan, and I thought she was really, really ready to go.
How does this rank in the cohesiveness of a game compared to the rest of the season so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think just in terms of, and Lauren said it, for 4 quarters, I thought we were, you look maybe the fourth quarter not as much, but like we really were the better team for the whole game, really, and that's hard to do against a good team. Usually there's a run of, a half of a quarter or 3 quarters of, something where you're playing a team that's pretty comparable to be. So I think a lot of that, and our bench was great too. I think that's a big part of it too, is we're deeper than some of these teams that we're playing. I thought, you look at Jamie and Carly got us 7 buckets and Kennedy too. So that's, 9 baskets off the bench. So I think that certainly helps. But yeah, I think this is I said, and this is again, not to discredit Providence, but this result of 26-point win is probably even more surprising than, if you're an outsider of what happened the other night against Providence.
Lynn, how would you say that Morgan has just grown from a season ago?
Yeah, like she said, I think she's even more comfortable in the post than last year. We post her more than we did last year, which, she's more confident. She gets more repetitions in practice at posting. She gets it on the block or on the mid post more in games. And defensively she's evolved. I mean, she's having to guard the other team's, most physical kid a lot. And today we decided we were going to switch a lot. And she did a good job when she switched on to guard. So I think she's evolved defensively, and she's gotten better as a communicator. There's still a ways to go. I'd like to see her get even better there. But, and her conditioning, like she can, she's playing more minutes than last year. She only averaged like 21 minutes. This year she's 28, 29. There's times where she gets tired and you got to get her out. But I think she's just a little bit tougher minded too when she gets a little tired, which is the mark of someone who's played a little bit longer.
After Wednesday, what were practices like the last few days? I mean, did you kind of expect them to come out and play with this kind of effort?
I did by today, but you just never know. Thursday I got on them a little. We watched our game from a year ago with Providence, and I showed them some things that Tatum had done. I said, you always get better once you leave. So Tatum now is like, she's the, I talk about her, and I said, look, here's a fifth-year kid who really wanted to win. And I showed them some clips of her against Providence from a year ago and her activity level and her fight and all that. And I said, look, it's, we can get there. And so I don't know if that got them mad at me or if how they took it. I always wonder how that plays with them, but I wanted them to know that it's not like Tatum was a remarkably better athlete than some of the people who I'm trying to push to get there. So, but practices were good. I mean, they were. I think the disappointing thing was that after UConn, we had really good practices leading into DePaul, and we won that game. And then I thought our practices were decent going into Providence, but they weren't at the level that they were going into DePaul, and that's a challenge because we don't go. Matt comes to practice. We don't go that long, so if we're only going 70 minutes of live stuff, the effort has to be really good.
I don't know if this is true because I didn't look it up, but it felt like you guys got more baskets today than you
Yeah.
all year. It felt like I was watching the last year's team.
Yeah.
Particularly the team that's not easy to do it against.
Yeah.
Why did you feel like it was there and more present and more?
I thought especially late, like you look at like Jamie and Carly, and I do think it's a product of our depth, and she, in order to kind of match what we did from a rotation standpoint, she had to play some younger players, and they're just nothing against their younger players, but they're not going to be as good defending our stuff as Jordan King, who's played against us for 4 years, and Murata, who's played against us for 5 years. So I think just bringing their bench into play more helped us, right? And then having our kids who get in and they're fresher, like Carly's a really good cutter, and Jamie's gotten better that way, and Kennedy and Kiani are making some progress. So yeah, I thought, and like people chase Lauren off the 3-point line, but she's gotten so much better at just moving and making herself available. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I like the fact that 24 of our 30 makes were twos, because we made some mid-range, but not, well, we had a lot of layups.
Like Lauren, go ahead.
No, you're next.
Okay. Like Lauren said, Seton Hall has obviously become kind of a bit of a rivalry game. I
Yeah.
forgot that was where Morgan broke her nose.
Yeah, yeah.
So just kind of that excitement and kind of getting to play in this big time game, be home, just
Yeah.
how does that feel with this next meeting?
Yeah, with the exception of UConn, they're playing probably better than you look at their last month and a half. Even they're playing the best of anybody in our league. Consistency, and they've got a really really good point guard and a really really good 5 player. So, and then they've built they've got some transfers, of course, around that. But like they've got one of the best point guards in the league and one of the best 5s in the league, and he's done a good job of blending those kids around them. So they're playing really well. Yeah, I mean, what Lauren referenced is, I told him after I kind of bit him a little bit after the day after Providence, I came back yesterday and said, look, we got to be bigger than one result, and nobody's you can probably look at every one of our losses other than Providence and say, well, it's a really good team, or it was on the road, 2 Final Four type teams, Connecticut and Stanford, but so you got to move past it. You got to be bigger than one result. And then I said in the locker room, we got to be bigger than one result. We got to jump on this, okay, and build on this and be ready, because Seton Hall will be ready. I mean, they're playing for, the reality is, like, all of us are playing for a lot. I mean, UConn is probably already going to be in the NCAA tournament, but there's 6 of us that are trying to build a resume and get better and be in a position where we're where we want to be, and